Yeah.
Does your mind go blank when you're trying to speak in the English language? If so, don't worry, because it's more common than you could possibly imagine, and we can fix that, alright? But first, we need to understand why it happens in the first place. So, the first reason is fear. Well, you're not really used to speaking in the English language the way you're used to speaking in your native language or your mother tongue. So, this is why when you're trying something new, it's gonna be daunting, it's gonna be intimidating, and this is why you go blank. Alright, and it's not just with the language only. Whatever you do for the very first time, it's gonna be intimidating, alright? You're gonna be afraid. So, the moment you try to step out of your comfort zone, your mind will tell you not to, because your mind is of the habit of remaining in the comfort zone. So when you're trying to do something new, it would add pressure onto your mind. So this is something that your mind does not appreciate. All right, your mind prefers that it relaxes, it does things that it's used to doing. So when you're doing or trying out something new, it's going to put some extra pressure on your mind. Every fiber of your body is going to cry that this is something that you don't want to do. So naturally you would want to switch back to your own language. It happens to be more convenient. So this is why we come down to the second reason, and that is habit. We have the habit of speaking in our mother tongue or in our national language. So this is why whenever you try a new language, let's say you're trying to speak in the English language, so your mind is constantly gonna block you. It's gonna tell you that you should go back to your own language because it happens to be more convenient. And like I said, your mind does not want to step out of the comfort zone. So this is why you go blank, because your mind wants you to focus on your mother tongue or your national language or your native language, just because your mind happens to be more familiar with it. So it's the habit. All right, if you're trying to learn a new habit, it's gonna be difficult. All right, the third point is that judgment. You fear that people might judge you, people might question your English speaking skills and stuff like that. This is also something that keeps you from learning new things. All right, so the fear of being judged. So if we can connect this to this, and it's something real, and you come across something like this on a daily basis. All right, the fourth thing is the environment. Well, if we don't get the right kind of environment in which our English language could actually thrive. If you go out to buy fruits, you don't talk to the fruit vendor in the English language. Alright, when you go out to buy vegetables or anything, you don't talk to people in the English language, because you would normally prefer your mother tongue or your native language. So this is why you don't really get the environment where you could actually exercise this particular language. So this is why you struggle with it. So you need to create an environment which actually helps you in speaking English fluently. All right, and the fifth thing happens to be lack of practice. All right, you don't practice enough. It's really important that you practice, and the reason why you struggle is because you haven't practiced enough. So the more you practice, the more you learn, and it goes without saying. All right, so these are the reasons why your mind goes blank. You don't work on these things. All right, if you work on these things, then you would definitely feel a change. Now I'll tell you how you could fix all these things. All right, Alright, the first thing that you need to focus on is, any guesses? Yes, the mirror technique. You look yourself in the mirror, you talk to yourself, and this is how you develop the habit of speaking the English language. Well, normally you would come up with excuses that you don't have a friend you could talk to in the English language. So I have actually removed that excuse, and I told you that there is a way to practice, and the best person for practicing the English language is yourself. You can rely on yourself, you can talk to yourself, you can share all kinds of secrets, with yourself using the English language. This is why this is something that could really help you out in acquiring English as a second language, and it could also help you out in your fluency. All right. The second thing is that you need to be recording. All right, record yourself. It's really important, and certain speech therapists also recommend that you record yourself and you watch your own videos and you hear yourself out. This is how you would get to learn as to how you're growing as someone who's learning English as a second language. So it's a really interesting process, and it really helps you out in the long run. And since you're acquiring English as a second language, I bet that you're also studying the English grammar. So if you keep record of how you're improving and learning and stuff like that, you would notice a huge change with the passage of time. And even if you're making mistakes with your English, you would definitely learn that, all right, with the passage of time. So the third thing is that you need to have a journal. All right, buy a journal, make journal entries. All right, you could actually have different categories in your journal, like education, sports, movies, career, and stuff like that. You could write different vocabulary words, different phrases, different sentences which you could utilize in your daily life. If you learn something new, you could jot that down in your journal, and then you could use those journal entries in improving these aspects of your journey in acquiring the English language. All right, so journal happens to be very important, and if you're someone who intends to acquire the English language, and if you intend to become fluent, and if you intend to address this issue, then you're gonna have to definitely look into this aspect. All right, the fourth thing which you need to keep in mind is that if you're someone who's into Netflix, and or if you're not, definitely recommend that you buy a Netflix subscription, because when you're watching a Netflix series and along with the subtitles, you will get to learn a lot. All right, so if you intend to understand English, you need to listen to the natives who are actually speaking that language. So pause from time to time and try to repeat the dialogues which are exchanged between the characters. This way you would learn a lot. All right, so if you repeat the dialogues being uttered by the character, this is how you would get a feel of how the natives actually utilize this language, and this is how you could acquire it quickly. So this exposure is very important, and I would definitely suggest that you watch lots of movies along with subtitles and practice them a lot. All right, the fifth thing which I want you to focus on is now I just want you to speak. Don't worry about the grammar, don't worry about the syntax, just focus on speaking, because the biggest mistake we make when we're acquiring English as secondary languages, that we try to learn it by starting off with trying to acquire the writing skills pertaining to this language. We don't really focus on the speaking aspects of it. This is why scholars say that we're learning English the wrong way, because we're supposed to learn to speak it first, then we're supposed to learn to write this language. If we talk about our native languages, well, of course, we learn our native language, via listening and then speaking. So in English, it's the other way around. We learn to write it first. So the process has been reversed over here, and there's a reason why certain scholars say that we learn it in an unnatural way. So this is why it's really important that you just focus on your speaking and you don't worry about anything. Don't worry about the grammar, the tenses, the structure of a sentence and stuff like that. All right, just focus on speaking fluent English and worry about other aspects later. As you move in this particular path, you would realize if you're making certain mistakes or not, and you yourself would be able to correct yourself with the passage of time. And the last tip, which of course is going to be a bonus tip, you need to practice a lot. This is something that we don't do. All right, find a partner, maybe do it with yourself. All right, focus on this particular technique and focus on this one as well, and practice as much as you can. The more you practice, the more you would learn. This is how it goes. All right, it's pretty simple. All right, and you must realize that we need communication skills to move forward in life, otherwise it's hard to survive. And communication skills have a lot to do with the acquisition of English as a secondary language, because it happens to be an international language. So it's really important that we acquire this one, and once you do, after all the pains that you experience, you're definitely gonna thrive in every field of life. All right, so trust the process, and a time would come when you would actually reach your destination. All right, and you won't even know it. So if you liked the video, please subscribe and share. Thanks a lot.